Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Living Skin podcast. I'm your host, Beth Byalko, and I am so excited that you are here today with us to join us to talk about product innovations and specifically products that treat hyperpigmentation. And that's going to be with our PowerBright Trio. So with the PowerBright Trio, these three products work synergistically to really help improve the visible signs of hyperpigmentation and even prevent future damage. And I am so excited to have back to the podcast with us our very special guest, Direshni Vining, our instructor from the Toronto location. So welcome back to the podcast, Dee.
I'm thrilled to be back. Thank you so much for having me again, Beth. Cannot wait to go through the newest PowerBright Trio with everyone today. It is truly revolutionary. So I'm pumped about today and about these products.
I am too. I mean, I don't know about you, but I had a lot of fun this summer. It was great weather here. I was outside gardening, hiking, biking, and I think I probably got a few extra dark spots. So I am loving these new three products that we are going to be talking about today. So before we get into the details, one of the things I mentioned is the PowerBright Trio is really about treating hyperpigmentation. So we want to think about, well, what gives us pigment, right? And that's, of course, melanin. Melanin is going to be that vital pigment that really gives our skin its color. So we have two different types. We have the pheomelanin and we have eumelanin. So, of course, melanin is going to give us our natural pigment, but it also helps to protect our skin, like from UV damage, even DNA damage that can happen from a variety of issues. And I think one of the things that we're going to be talking about today specifically are the dark spots or that irregular production of melanin. And that can be brought on by stress, UV damage, any type of like extrinsic things in the air, such as pollution, that can also contribute to that as well. So we're going to be really kind of diving into what are dark spots first, which I'm excited, Dee, to have you with us today to talk about that. And then we'll head into talking a little bit more in detail about these three incredible products. So Dee, let's start first by kind of understanding what are some of the common dark spots that we can see on the skin.
Absolutely, Beth. So, as you mentioned, there are several different triggers to dark spots and several different kinds of dark spots that we're seeing on the skin. Mm-hmm. You mentioned those UV rays, pollution, free radicals, but hormones and inflammation can also play a massive role in that uneven skin tone or hyperpigmentation that we're seeing. So let's go ahead and look at kind of the top three concerns that we see.
Okay.
Firstly, sunspots. Sunspots are related to that excess UV exposure. So definitely if we've had that fantastic summer and we've spent a lot of time in the sun, that is something that we're going to be seeing. They generally appear as those darker spots on areas that are typically exposed to the sun. So think the face, neck, chest, the hands even could be predispositioned to those sunspots as well. Mm-hmm. We then have melasma, which is more of that hormonal relation. So melasma or chloasma, dependent on where you're from, can be induced by hormonal fluctuations caused by pregnancy or even endocrine disorders like polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, or even being on the contraceptive pill. So this often is triggered by those hormonal fluctuations, and you'll start to see that uneven skin tone appear on the face. Mm-hmm. Particularly with melasma, it's also more commonly known as that pregnancy mask or that butterfly mask that appears on the forehead and the cheeks, but can also come up on the upper lip and lower jawline as well. And then finally, our third most common cause of hyperpigmentation is post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. And this is caused from, say you have a breakout and you love doing a little bit of that bathroom surgery where you're squeezing it yourself, right?
Right.
That can definitely exacerbate the deposits of that protein melanin, like you discussed, in those areas of inflammation. But
Yeah.
that post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation isn't just assigned to someone who's got those breakouts. It can also be from someone who has a genetically sensitive skin, or
Mhm.
someone who has inflammatory skin concerns like eczema or psoriasis. So
Right.
there's so many factors that go with pigmentation. There's so many triggers that can cause that uneven skin tone. So when we have products like our PowerBright Trio to really target and work synergistically to treat all of those facets of pigmentation, it makes such a great impact on the skin.
hmm I definitely agree. I think that's such a great point that you made, 2D, about really understanding the three most common forms of dark spots, because, right, that's what our clients call them. Like, I've got this dark spot, or I've got this brown area, or a discoloration, and they may not know where that came from, how it got there. And it's really our job as skin therapists to kind of understand that and decipher, right, whether it's hormonal, like the melasma you mentioned, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, possibly from, breakout, or of course, sun-induced, which is the most common one that we see, where we see, too much sun exposure and that kind of irregular amount of pigmentation. So now that we kind of understand a little bit more about melanin and what those dark spots are, I know everyone's excited to dive into understanding the products. So I thought today what we could do is just take them one by one and really understand, what the product is, who it's for, and how they can benefit from the product on their skin, and as well as how to use it. So this is our PowerBright Trio that's really going to be effective at treating those signs of hyperpigmentation. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, some preventative measures. And I know we're going to dive into that. So I'd love to start off with our first one, which is a personal favorite of mine. And that's going to be the PowerBright Dark Spot Serum. So if you could kind of walk us through some of those hero ingredients, because they're very different from some of the formulations that we've used in the past. And then we can talk a little bit more about how to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, firstly, love that you mentioned that this is one of your favorites,
Yes,
because
yes.
holy cannoli, this is such a game changer for my
It is.
skin. I come from a sunny country, so I've definitely been predisposed to a little bit of that uneven skin tone, spending lots of my childhood in the sun. And this has been such a hero for my skin in terms of evening out that skin tone. And it
Mhm.
really comes from the fact that, for one, it delivers instant gratification with that immediate brightening to the skin, but then also uses those key ingredients like hexyl resorcinol and niacinamide that will work to brighten your skin over time. Now, hexyl resorcinol on its own is a fantastic ingredient that is a tyrosinase inhibitor and will work at stopping the production of melanin to help brighten the skin. Then you've got your niacinamide, which is a derivative of vitamin B3. It helps to balance the skin's oil production, but more importantly, helps to diminish those signs of inflammation in the skin. So it really helps to reduce that inflammation, and in turn will help to reduce that uneven skin tone as well.
Mhm.
Separately, those ingredients are incredible, but combine them and you've got such a winning formula when it comes to brightening that pigmentation. We also
Yes.
have ingredients in here that will help to protect against pollution. So not only are we thinking about, how we're going to brighten the skin using those key ingredients, but also how we're going to protect the skin, which is
Mhm.
really fantastic.
Yes, and that's where we kind of come into that treating it and kind of prevention and protection that you just mentioned as well. And we're seeing, especially in the skincare industry, I mean, niacinamide is such a hero ingredient now. It's used in so many different formulations, and I absolutely love it in this product. So now, because it is definitely a serum, this is going to, right, fit into your own treatment regimen at home, I think, very seamlessly, especially if you've already used to using a serum. So let's talk about who can benefit from using the PowerBright Dark Spot Serum, and then how can they bring it into their at-home regimen, whether that's morning or night, and some products that can actually kind of complement that.
Yes, Beth, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, this does integrate seamlessly into everyone's routine. And the really cool thing about this is you don't have to have a specific skin type to integrate this into your routine.
Right.
If hyperpigmentation or uneven skin tone is a concern for you, then this is something that you can start including into your routine. You can integrate this every single morning after you've double cleansed and toned your skin. You'll apply 1 to 2 pumps
Mm-hmm.
of your PowerBright Dark Spot Serum to your face, neck, and chest, and then follow up with your skin prescribed moisturizer. And you can
Okay.
see that texture that it's really, really lightweight. It absorbs really easily into the skin. And I always love showing the key differences here because I'm not a very patient person. I love instant gratification, and this
Yeah.
really delivers that.
Yeah, you can definitely see the changes. And I'm so glad you show that into the camera as well, because this is a great way to kind of see a little bit of this goes a long way. And like you said, you can use it after your toner, before your skin specific moisturizer. So thinking about too, it isn't a pump. And when, I like to recommend to people who have not used it's almost like a light cream serum, which is
Mhm.
very different than a traditional serum where someone might think it's a little bit more clear or have a thinner consistency. So do 1 pump, apply it, and see how that goes for you as well. I find 2 pumps for me work perfect for
Mhm.
my entire face, my neck, and of course, I love it across the chest because this is always a problem area, I think, is sometimes people forget to, right, to take their SPF down. So if we're
Yes.
really trying to even work on those spots right here onto the chest area, fantastic. Well, I'm obsessed with this product, you guys, because when I say it works, it works. You see a huge difference. Not only does your skin look brighter right after application, which I think is fantastic, but you
Yes.
do see a progressive brightening of some of those dark spots, as well. Of course, everyone's going to be a little different depending on what's caused the hyperpigmentation, but I love the results. So let's move on to our next product, and that's going to be our PowerBright moisturizer with the SPF. And this is an SPF 50, which is fantastic. This is kind of what we need, especially when you're treating hyperpigmentation. And I'm going to kick it off to you to talk about some of those key ingredients, and then we'll dive into how we can use it.
Absolutely. So, Beth, I love a good two-in-one solution, and this
Yes.
is fantastic because it helps target two concerns in one. You've got that daytime moisturizer, and you're providing that critical protection throughout the day to help
Mm-hmm.
protect you against those harmful UV rays and pollution, and really provide your skin with everything that it needs to defend itself during the daytime.
Right.
This is reinforced with key ingredients like brown algae, which helps to combat that oxidative stress in the skin, particularly oxidative stress from air pollution, which is really fantastic. We also have that hero niacinamide in here. We know how fantastic that is in here as well as our classic ingredients like hyaluronic acid, because we always want that additional hydration.
Yes. Okay, so perfect. So now you mentioned, taking it back a little bit, it's a 2-in-1. So I know a couple questions that our listeners might have today is, okay, so it's great for protecting my skin from UV damage, right, with the SPF factor into it, and then it is hydrating as well. So they can use this as a moisturizer and an SPF. So would they necessarily need to put another moisturizer on with this product, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I feel like with this moisturizer, I'll show you the consistency of it. So
Okay,
I
fantastic.
find, again, here, that 1 to 2 pumps is sufficient for my face, neck, and chest. And this
Mm-hmm.
is a light to medium weight moisturizer. So you're
Mm-hmm.
really going to feel that nourishment for, say, a balanced to combination skin. And it will deliver that critical hydration without leaving that film or greasy feel on the skin in any way.
Right. Okay. I think that's fantastic. It's great to know that you can just use this over top right, of a serum, of course, your toner, serum, and then your, your PowerBright Moisturizer SPF 50, which is fantastic. Now, I do find that for me, like headed into more drier months, that I do need a little bit more nourishment underneath this, underneath the PowerBright Moisturizer SPF 50. So I find I kind of either change up to a more nourishing serum during the day, or I've even, taken a layer of a like intensive moisture balance underneath it for me, because I have dry skin, right? So I think that's great. I think what's one thing we need to know is like this would go on top, right? This is kind of your last layer of your skincare regimen. Okay, so we have a third product to go to, and we can't forget about treating the skin at night. And that, of course, is where we know a lot of the magic happens, because our skin is actually repairing. We are at rest. We're noticing some big changes within the skin as well. And that's going to be our PowerBright Overnight Cream. So I'm going to, again, give it back to you. Let's talk about some of those hero ingredients. And then for our listeners that maybe a evening cream or a night cream isn't necessarily their go-to, how they can seamlessly put this into their at-home care regimen.
Awesome. So like you mentioned, Beth, this is that evening solution that's going to work with that natural circadian rhythm that we have. Now at nighttime, our skin goes through a restorative, regenerative phase. So we want to ensure that we're feeding it with the right combination of ingredients that are going to help restore that luminosity and help have the greatest impact on those skin concerns that you're wanting to target. So this is a medium to rich weight moisturizer that has that combination of niacinamide and hexylresorcinol that work in synergy to fade those uneven dark spots or that uneven skin tone that you're experiencing. But it's also reinforced with ingredients like magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, which is an ultra stable form of vitamin C and will really provide that potent antioxidant benefit to the skin. So I'll show you the consistency. And this again is really fantastic. Beth, I know you mentioned you had that drier skin, and at nighttime, we're looking for more of that nourishment. We're looking for more of that hydration, and this will really help to deliver that. So I find with this, if you find that your skin is quite dry or quite dehydrated and you feel like you need a little bit more, feel free to layer something like your Smart Response Serum underneath this, or even something like Phyto Replenish Oil would be an awesome addition here, just to provide that extra nourishment and really work with your skin at nighttime.
I love that. I love that those tips that you just gave about really, again, layering something underneath it that helps to kind of boost up that critical moisture, or like for drier skin, you're kind of lacking in those lipids a little bit. And, I think it's great that we have this overnight cream that can really, like you said, work with the skin synergistically in the evening while it's at rest as well. Well, these three products, Dee, I know you and I are completely obsessed with them, and I'm hoping all of you listening in and tuning in today are going to love them just as much as us. If you haven't had a chance to get your hands on them, this is the PowerBright Trio. Now, individually, the three of them work fantastic. So if you're thinking I need more of a serum, or I need more of a sunscreen, or I'm ready to bring in a nighttime treatment, of course, you can definitely buy these separately. But what we have seen is when you're working with the three of them together in a proper at-home skincare routine, the results are amazing. They're simply fantastic. Well, Dee, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today on the Living Skin Podcast. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here with us, and your wealth of knowledge that you give to everyone when you join us on each episode.
Thank you so much for having me, Beth. I know I always have the absolute best time with you. So thanks for having me. Can't wait to be back. And really, I hope you all love the PowerBright Trio as much as Beth and I do, because it really is such a game changer.
Great. Thanks, Dee. And thanks everyone for joining us today. And we can't wait to see you again here on the Living Skin Podcast, and have a great weekend.